quarterback tucks in and runs. Zach Wilson's loose. Zach Wilson's running. He's got all day. He stays in bounds. Zach Wilson cuts it. Zach Wilson gets in the end zone for the touchdown. Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to another Jets Media live stream. And today we're live with the one and only DJ from NY Daily News. DJ, welcome into the stream, my man. How you doing? How is the offseason treating you?
It's treating me fine so far. No complaints. Everything about to pick up soon. In about the combine's next week, so everything is going to turn into hyper gear. And then free agency is like to go a week after that. And the agency starts on the 16th of March, but
oh yeah,
the combine finishes on the 7th, so it's gonna get crazy soon. So
it's going to be crazy soon, and I'm super excited to see what the New York Jets are going to be doing this offseason. Of course, we got the NFL Combine, and then free agency kicks off around March 16th, I believe, and all hell is going to break loose. And there's going to be so much stuff happening with the Jets. We have so much cap space to work with. We got a lot of assets to even maneuver in the trade market, and then, of course, the NFL Draft in late April. The offseason's been a little slow. We just got through the first Sunday without football yesterday, which was kind of disappointing. But here we are today. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Jerry, George, Elena. Shout out to Elena in the chat, of course. Elliot, Garrett. Hope you guys are enjoying your Monday. Make sure you guys smash that like button on your way into the stream. We're just getting started. We're going to preview the offseason with DJ from NY Daily News to talk about what the Jets should be doing in terms of approaching the free agency market. Who are the top targets that the Jets should go out there and get? And some other guys that is in the trade market for the New York Jets we're going to talk about. And then, of course, we're going to dive into the NFL Draft because there's so much ammunition that Joe Douglas and his team has been working with going into this offseason, whether it's the cap space that they have, whether it's the draft capital they have. The Jets are set up beautifully when it comes to this offseason. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of specific position of needs, DJ, what do you want to see from the Jets overall this offseason? If you want to talk about free agency and the draft and the trade market, all in all, what do you want to see them do? Do you want to see them be super aggressive and try to go all in and try to get the top tier guys in free agency? Do you want them to trade up in the draft? What type of situation? So before we get into the deep a position of needs, what do you want to see from the Jets overall in the big picture on the 2022 offseason?
I think I don't think they got to go all in. All in is for teams that are one piece away or a few pieces away from winning the championship. Obviously, Jets are not that. So if they go all in and go after the best free agents on the market, I mean, this isn't a great free agency class. So there aren't that many game changers in that aspect. But I do want to be aggressive in the sense of flourishing, adding a lot of talent to this roster, because right now they just last year a lot of the games that they lost just came down to a lack of talent, and eventually they have to start filling the team up with more talent to be able to compete with the New Englands, with the Buffaloes, even when in the division, or even Miami, who even though they started 1-7, they finished 9-8 at the end of the year. So because it starts within the division, so I think they got to start adding a lot more talent, because a lot of games that were lost was just because they just didn't have enough talent to either close the deal or even get them in the same ballpark.
Yeah, man, I agree. I don't think that the Jets should go into this approach of go all in. We're not one or two pieces away for becoming a playoff Super Bowl caliber team. I think Joe Douglas, we understand his approach as a GM has been, supplementing this team through free agency in a way of not just spending the bank on one or two players, but spreading the wealth and the building this team through the draft. But at the same time, I do want to see Joe Douglas be aggressive, especially in the trade market, to go out there and get a guy, especially in the wide receiver position. So that brings us to our next topic, DJ. You had a very interesting report, and I made a video on it on my channel already. So I want to hear your thoughts about the Robbie Anderson is interested to coming back to the Jets report. Do you think that the Jets should be interested in getting Robbie Anderson back? And then when we get past the Robbie Anderson talk, we're going to talk about other wide receivers in the trade market that the Jets should target. So do you think that Joe Douglas and the Jets should go out there and get Robbie Anderson? Does it make sense?
So to go get Robbie Anderson, no, because if you trade for Robbie Anderson, then your core is Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Robbie Anderson. And while that is an improvement, I feel like the Jets can still do better. There's better options like a Amari Cooper or a Calvin Ridley, citing wherever his mental health is, um, or even Mike Williams in free agency, or just drafting a guy who's going to be younger with more upside. You kind of know who Robbie is at this point, and going to go get him to basically ask him. Well, if you go get Robbie, you're basically asking Elijah Moore to take that next jump to become like a bona fide de facto number one wide receiver. Now, I believe he can do that. I don't have any question that he can do that. But again, like he still has to do it, and you're asking him to take that jump in year two. And on top of that, if you go get Robbie, then basically, you can get out of Corey Davis deal after 2022 season and Robbie Anderson's deal after 2022. So basically, you're not building a receiving core for the long term. You're kind of building it for the now, and that kind of leads into the you're trying to win right now aspect, which they're not trying to like. Obviously, they want to win, but they're not. We got to win this year right now mode. So there's like pros and cons to it. It'd be cool for Robbie to come back. I would love for him to come back because I love covering South Florida kids because I'm a South Florida kid. But again, it doesn't make as much sense when you can just stay pat at 10 and get a Drake London or a Traylon Burks or Garrett Wilson, or wait to the second round to get maybe a Christian Watson from North Dakota State. There's still going to be options, or even if Dobson from Penn State falls into the second round. So you'll be able to find options later on in the draft versus giving up, you won't have to give up much capital because the Panthers don't have much leverage. You can probably get him for like a 5, you know what I mean? But then you got to take on his salary, which isn't too big. But overall, though, you're basically saying this is your core for this year, and it may all fall apart next year. Then you might be in a similar situation where you're still trying to find number one wide receiver.
So outside of Robbie Anderson, are there any other receivers out there? I know you wrote a whole article about this that you feel like the Jets should definitely be interested in. Just Joe Douglas calling some teams, maybe to Calvin Ridley, maybe to Cooper. Are there any receivers out there that is not necessarily free agents, but Joe Douglas and the Jets should be interested in potentially trading for them to become, alongside Elijah Moore and Corey Davis?
Yeah, I think the two best options. I think the best option is Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley's peak is a lot higher. It's not a lot higher. Let me relax. It's higher than Amari Cooper's. But Amari Cooper's floor is higher than Calvin Ridley's. Like with Calvin Ridley, we only have 1,000-yard receiving year. Even though that was like a 1,300-yard year with 9 touchdowns he played. And Julio missed most of that year. Well, didn't miss most of that year, but he balled when Julio was out. So when he was the number one receiver, he still put in work. Then Amari Cooper, that you're going to get 1,000 yards, period, point blank. For the most part, you're going to get 1,000 yards. As long as you stay healthy, you're going to get 1,000 yards. That's what he does. And he's a great route runner, quarterback friendly. Think about, there were questions about Dak Prescott after year 2 and early in year 3 when his number one receiver was Cole Beasley. And then where they trade for Amari Cooper, and then the Cowboys offense kind of take off. You see another step from Dak. And then next year, Dak was able to show that, oh, yeah, I could be a top 10 quarterback. I think for almost 5. He almost had like 5,000 yards that year. I think he had 30 touchdowns. And Amari Cooper had a lot to do with that. So, obviously, it's been proven that Amari Cooper can work with young quarterbacks. He worked with Derek Carr. He worked with Dak Prescott. And he makes a quarterback's life really easy because he could throw. He gets open pretty quickly. And that makes it easier for the quarterback to not have to fit into a tight window, and he can just get it to his guy. And Mark Cooper can make things happen in space. So I think those two are good options. I like Mike Williams out of the LA Chargers, because he provides that big body threat that the Jets don't have. He's good when it comes to contest catches. I think he had 24 according to PFF. The Jets as a entire unit, I believe, had 25.
Wow.
Led by Corey Davis with 6. So no, I think Michael was at 21, but it was in that range. But overall, though, he's a pretty good. He's a pretty good option, and he's a big play receiver. Like, he isn't just a big body. Like couple years ago, he led the league in yards per catch with 20.
And the good thing about him too is a free agent, so we don't have to give up anything to get him.
Exactly. You just got to spend a little bit of money. But overall, though, those are some options that I've thought about. Obviously, I just saw a report that Brandon Cooks might get moved.
Yeah.
That'd be a good option too. Just, continue to get my goal for the Jets is to give Zach Wilson no excuses. Like,
Spoil him.
because, like you want to get clarity, pure point blank. Like now in today's NFL, patience for quarterbacks isn't as, we don't have as much patience for quarterbacks like we did before. And there's good reasons for that. You have the Joe Burrows of the world, the Kyler Murrays, the Justin Herberts, the Lamar Jacksons, the Patrick Mahomes. Like, you don't have to wait as long for a quarterback to show you they got it or they could be a franchise guy. And the best way to do that is to get him the weapons and get him the options so you can just see it pretty quickly. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree
with those options, and hopefully they can do that so we can have more clarity on Zach Wilson.
I 100% agree. I think the Jets' number one goal this offseason is just to basically spoil Zach Wilson to the point where he's walking out there and he's overloaded with weapons. He's overloaded with protection. And yes, that might not happen this offseason all in all, but the long-term goal is surrounding Zach Wilson, because I've said this on this channel multiple times, but Joe Douglas's job as a Jets GM is tied to the success of Zach Wilson, because he made the big decision last year to move on from Sam Darnold, which I think we all can agree was the right decision, but he went out there and handpicked his quarterback in Zach Wilson. And if Zach Wilson does not turn out to be the quarterback for the Jets, I don't know if Joe Douglas gets another chance with the Jets as a GM. So I feel like Joe Douglas's number one priority this offseason and beyond is to surround Zach Wilson with playmakers and talent and protection in order to make Zach Wilson's job a lot easier. So now going into the biggest needs for the Jets outside of the wide receiver position, like we just broke down, DJ, what are other positions that you want to see the Jets address in the offseason, whether it's free agency or the draft, outside the receiver position?
Tight end. I feel like for free agency, tight end and safety have to be addressed. Like no questions asked. You know what I mean? You got to get. I like David Njoku. I've heard Schultz probably doesn't hit the market. There's a good chance he doesn't hit the market. And I mean, obviously it's early. One thing I learned in this process is a lot of the agents actually don't talk to like other teams until like the combine for the most part. So you can't really get a sense of like who's really interested in who. Like it's all word of mouth and like suggestions and things of that nature. Because I remember I talked to somebody who would have some insight on, the Jets would be interested in Dalton Schultz from his camp, and they said we haven't really heard much yet. So obviously we'll see at the combine. I would thought at this point, obviously my first year actually covering like this part of the off season. You would think that people already be talking about X, Y, and Z about, okay, this player, I want this player, we want this player. You know what I mean? My client will be interested in your team, yada yada. But it's not like that at all. Sometimes most free agents only have like 2 or 3 options anyway, for the most part, especially early, if they're even like sought after like that. And most of the conversations are had during the combine. So obviously the people that I talked to, Schultz camp hasn't heard much from the Jets yet. I think that will change because he's obviously a pretty good option. They could use a tight end. So that's one option. Obviously I mentioned David Njoku. Safety, Marcus Williams, obviously, from the Saints. Quandre Diggs, 2-time Pro Bowler from the Seattle Seahawks, and he was with Tony Oden, the Jets defensive back coach, when they were in Detroit. So that could be a decent option. Obviously, if J.C. Bates is available, which I don't think he will be, that'd be a good option. Jaquiski Tart from the 49ers. Obviously, he played with Saleh in San Fran from 17 to 20. So that'd be a good option because he knows the system. So you don't have to teach too much. And he could basically be another leader for the secondary because the secondary is so young that they need more like football savvy guys. So those are a few options that I've thought about. I feel I'm missing one more person, but whatever. If I remember.
I think the safety and tight end is the number one need. Would you agree?
Yeah, like absolutely. You said, safety, yeah, for sure. Safety and tight end are the number one. Like, if you want to rank like important versus biggest, like I think biggest need is like weapons, whether it's receiver / tight end for Zach. For important, but biggest for sure, safety and tight end. Like they're like the biggest. It's just like how do you address those needs and what resources do you use for those needs? And
then what do you think? What are your thoughts of this? Like you said, there's a difference between the biggest need and all that. I feel like the Jets' biggest need is an edge rusher alongside Carl Lawson, because Robert Saleh's defense does not succeed without an elite pass rush. And
Right.
we need to get to the quarterback. And we saw last year, I think the reason why the Jets were 32nd in the NFL in defense is simply because Carl Lawson and Vinny Curry went down before the season, and we had no edge rusher for the entire year. And we were relying on Quinnen Williams in the interior and John Franklin Myers playing on the edge to get to the quarterback. It was just totally inconsistent. And we know that this Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich defense does not function without getting to the quarterback with ease. And we saw this young secondary take a big step without anybody expecting that from Bryce Hall and Eccles and Michael Carter II. So if the Jets can get a big-time edge rusher alongside a healthy Carl Lawson, that would be huge. So how do you think the Jets should go about that, getting that big-time edge rusher alongside Carl Lawson? Is that in the draft, or is that free agency, or the trade market?
I think draft, or because I don't really see any like premier pass rushers hitting the market. Like usually they do this like a wart, and you bet that they can overcome that wart. Like Trey Hendrickson, like his wart was he only had 1 year of doing it, and you were betting, okay, can you do it again? And he had a lot of help from his secondary. The way the Saints schemed, like he was playing with like a lot of talent, and the way the scheme was, their secondary gave them enough time to get to the quarterback, and like a lot of focus was on Cameron Jordan too, so he was able to eat off of that. But then he went to Cincinnati and he had like 15 sacks, so that worked. Whatever. And obviously, Carl Lawson, he was really good at getting pressures, but his word was injury, and sometimes his body wears. I've heard from people that covered the Bengals, obviously people in the Bengals room, that his body wears down as the season progresses, and he ended up getting hurt in training camp, unfortunately, because he was going to have a dominant year. I have no question about that. So I think the draft is a great opportunity for that. Obviously, a lot hinges if on Kayvon Thibodeau can fall to 4. There's a chance for it because there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about him potentially falling. So I would, if he's there, obviously he'll be the pick, regardless of what happens in free agency or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think he'll be the pick. But if he's not there, I like Jermaine Johnson at Florida State. He's really good. Like obviously,
at 4?
No, I don't know about 4. Maybe
Yeah.
at 10. Maybe at 10.
And that takes us to our next question. So who would you want the Jets to pick at number 4, number 10 in a perfect world? Obviously, we don't know what's happening in free agency. That's really going to decide what the Jets are going to do at number 4, number 10. And you mentioned Jermaine Johnson. I'm really high on Jermaine Johnson. I feel like he's skyrocketing up boards. In Senior Bowl, he was going crazy in practice to the point where he didn't have to go in the Senior Bowl game. And the more I watch him, the more I want him on the New York Jets. And I don't think that he is going to be available in the second round at all. So in a perfect world, obviously, like I said, it's really hard to predict this without knowing what we do in free agency. Because say hypothetically, we do trade for a Ridley, we're not going to take a receiver at number 10. So give me all your scenarios. In a perfect world, what do you want to see the Jets do at 4 and 10?
All right, so at 4, build the trenches. So whether that's go O tackle, D line, whatever. And then go at 10, go playmaker. When it's on at cornerback or receiver. It's just been interesting to see all the pushback about, cornerback. Because again, like Jet fans and the coaching staff view the position so differently in terms of like I will give fans their credit. Like they kind of align in the sense of how the Jets scheme utilizes cornerbacks, which is fair. But that doesn't mean like they're satisfied with what they have and they think that what they have is good enough. Like, I understand that Bryce Hall took a step forward and Brandon Eccles flashed a little bit, but as I've said before, and Connor Hughes has said it before, the Jets' best case scenario for them that they want is have Eccles, Isaiah Dunn, and Bryce Hall fight for that number 2 spot while the Jets, while they have somebody come in and they're the de facto number 1 cornerback. That's what they want. That's like best case scenario. So when I mentioned maybe going cornerback at 10, whether it's Sauce or Stingley or Sauce or Stingley, those are the main 2 names right now. I get pushback and it's like, guys, do you not realize that the Jets had the 25th, they had a 30th ranked pass defense? Like I get it, Bryce Hall and Brandon Eccles and Michael Carter, they played above expectations. But it's not like they were world beaters. You know what I mean? It'll be really risky to go into another year with that same cornerback group and not add to it. Now, if you address it in free agency, cool. That changed the whole conversation. But again, just say they don't add anybody in free agency, then they gotta add somebody in the draft because that's really rare. And there are people in the building that want them to use top 10 pick on the cornerback. So they're like, that's not coming out of thin air either. That they want someone to use a cornerback, and they want to use one of the top 10 picks on a cornerback because they feel like cornerback. If you have an elite cornerback, or not an elite cornerback, a cornerback that's good enough to not shut but limit who's in front of them and take away someone's number one receiver for a play or two. Let's say it's third down, you can limit, that receiver and make the quarterback pitch and hold the ball. Now your D-line can get there, and rushing coverage kind of go hand in hand. So if the pass rush can get to the quarterback, but the cornerback gets beat quickly, the quarterback can get the ball out of his hands. So there are some quarterbacks that can play within pressure. They can get the ball out amidst pressure. They know how to maneuver that. And then vice versa, if, I'm trying to think of the other scenario. If you have a cornerback that's locking down and the pass rush doesn't get there, then he'll eventually get beat. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But, there's times where if, the cornerback's locking it up, then the D-line can get there. Think about the two games where the pass rush was able to get after the quarterback. I think it was the Titans game and the Texans game.
Yeah.
I think the Titans, they had like 7 sacks. And then I forgot how many the Texans against the Texans. I
John Franklin Myers took over that game.
Right. But on the back end, the DBs were really holding it down. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So like when people act like you can just throw anybody out there, it's all right, that's risky. But overall though, I think playmaker, whether it's a cornerback, even safety, let's say Kyle Hamilton falls to 10, or you go receiver. Like I'm cool either way. Well, one thing I'm gonna be is very consistent and fair, right? Like just go cornerback at 4, I'm not gonna kill them for it. I understand the vision. I see what they're trying to do. Right, they're trying to address a need and trying to take a chance and have someone that can change the complexity of the defense. I'm not going to kill them for that. If they go cornerback at 10, if they go receiver at 10, whoever they go Burks, they go Wilson, they go London. I don't care who they go. I see the vision. They're trying to address needs because that's what you got to be as a reporter. Like I'm not a fan. I can't, be all up in arms because they're trying to address a need. And it might not be the guy that I want. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about what I want. Because we really don't know how any of these guys are going to work out. Like, we have an idea and we hope and we think, but you never know until they actually get out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is your first time covering the Jets in terms of this time of year. You're noticing that Jets fans are so passionate and we fall in love with some prospects and we debate on some prospects. And it's just so fun to see all these Jets fans. I'm going to get to a quick super chat from Jigs. He says, thoughts on moving from 10 to 6 with Carolina for D end or an offensive tackle? I think it would really depend on who's available at 6, that maybe someone slid down there and what the what the price is. But I don't really see that happening, to be honest. I think the Jets are going to stay put at number 10 if I had to guess. So in a perfect world, DJ, I feel like, the Jets get Thibodeau at 4 for me. That's really what I want desperately because I just feel like the New York Jets need that 4 people on that defensive line to be menaces and to have John Franklin Myers kicking back on the inside with Quinnen Williams and hopefully a healthy Carl Lawson. I feel like we're just missing that big time edge rusher alongside that Carl Lawson. And I'm hoping it's Kayvon Thibodeau, and if it's not, so be it. So say the Jets do this hypothetical scenario at 4 and 10. I tweeted this out there yesterday just because I want to see what Jets fans thought, and you might have saw it or not. But say they go trenches at both 4 and 10. Say they get Ekwonu at 4 and they get Jermaine Johnson at 10. That's not the flashiest thing. I feel like a lot of Jets fans are not going to like that at the forefront. But just knowing Joe Douglas's and Robert Saleh's, vision of the trenches and building this football team through there, they prioritize both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage, getting that edge rusher Jermaine Johnson at 10 and Ekwonu, who's a very versatile piece who will probably be the future tackle for this Jets team. So what are your thoughts of that hypothetical scenario of the Jets going Ekwonu at 4 and Jermaine Johnson at 10?
I'm fine with that because, again, I got to be fair, and I see the vision. You're trying to improve 2 units that, while I think the offensive line was a lot better than most Jet fans realize, because, Zach took some sacks, but a lot of that was on him. Like a good amount. No, I'm not saying a lot, but I'll say, he probably could have reduced his sacks by, 15 or something like that, some number like that. they're still trying to address and one, they were trying to protect their assets because the Mekhi Becton situation is up in the air. We got to see how he comes back. That's one. Two, you're trying to address the D line. You're trying to address the pass rush that struggled last year. And Jermaine Johnson's good at stopping the run too. Like I watched the film against him and the offensive tackle from NC State, the guy you just mentioned, and there were a lot of plays when he was whooping him in the run, where like he'll catch him lunging and he'll evade that and then go make the tackle. So he's good against the run. So that would be basically obviously a 2-for-1, but I guess a cliche 2-for-1. You'd be a guy that's good against the pass and good at stopping the run. So those are two. I mean, I got to be fair, and if they did that, more power to them. So gotta respect that.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, if you guys are tuning in just now, make sure you smash that like button. Greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. We got 35 likes. We're around 75 people watching. Let's get to 50 likes if you guys are enjoying the stream. And of course, don't forget to check out DJ down below in the description. His Twitter's linked down below and his profile over at NY Daily News. Does great stuff covering the New York Jets. So make sure you guys support DJ at NY Daily News, doing great stuff for the Jets beat. So a couple more questions before I let you go, DJ. Let's talk about outside of the first round. Who are some prospects that you want to see the Jets target, whether it's the second, third, fourth round? Because not only do the Jets 2 first-round picks, but we also have 9 picks in the first 5 rounds. So we are draft-rich heading into this draft. So who are some prospects that you would like to see the Jets target, whether it is, round 3, 4, or 5?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Christian Watkins from North Dakota State. He was the best receiver at the Senior Bowl, without question, the best receiver. I mean, he was like 6'4". He basically built like AJ Green, and I won't say he is AJ Green, but like they're built in the same style. Like while they might be 6'4", they could play big, even though they're not like the biggest, because they're both kind of lanky. But he was quick in and out of his breaks. He was good with his hands. Was good at high pointing balls. Good at contested catches. That's one receiver that I would, if the Jets, let's say, they go with trenches, or they go O-line or D-line and they cornerback 10, and then they come back and they get Christian Watkins. That'd be a good drive. That's one player that I really like. Jeremy Rucker. I don't know if I like him more than McBride, but I think obviously he's a better blocker than McBride is right now. But I don't know if he has more upside, but I do think that his college production will not match his NFL production. I think he can be extremely productive in the NFL because he has good routes for a tight end. He has good hands, and he gives a lot of effort in blocking. Obviously, your technique's not gonna be great as a tight end blocking great defensive ends. It's gonna be impossible. But I like the traits that he has. When you watch a lot of these prospects, you gotta look at the traits. You can't really only look at the production. You gotta look at which traits translate to the NFL. That's why, like, I wasn't as high on Treylon Burks, but then like talking to some people and they discuss like traits and mentioning like the physical traits that he has that can transfer him to the NFL. He could be a number 1 wide receiver because he's big, strong, athletic. You could develop the route running. He has things that you can't teach. And the same with Jeremy Rucker. He has things that you can't teach. 6'5", 250, can get nasty in the run game. And obviously, even though he didn't display it a lot at Ohio State, he can be a receiving threat. So those are 2 names that I have come across and I've thought about. I think Rucker may go in the 3rd. Watson, I don't think he's going to make it to the 3rd. But if he does, and let's say they don't go receiving the first 2 rounds and they land on him, that'll be a steal.
Yeah, man, there's so many guys in this draft that Jets fans want, whether it's the Senior Bowl roster. There's so many guys from the Senior Bowl that I want the Jets to draft, whether it's Boye Mafe, whether it's a linebacker Troy Anderson, even Perry and Winfrey I wanted the Jets, even though it's not really a position of need. There's so many guys later in this draft class that the Jets should be interested in, obviously, and it's going to be so much stuff leading up into this draft, whether it's the draft combine that's going to really give us an understanding of where the Jets approach is going to be. And of course, when free agency comes around, the trade market seems to simmer down, we're going to have a way better understanding of what the New York Jets are going to do in the draft. So it's really hard to speculate what the Jets are going to do right now. But of course, as fans and as you as a reporter of the Jets, we got to talk about what's going to happen and just hypothetical scenarios. So DJ, I really appreciate you tuning into the show. Love having you on here. Love to have you on later on in the offseason, whether it's after free agency, to talk about what the Jets did, and then we can actually talk about the draft because you have a better, bigger picture of what's to come.
Right.
So, guys, make sure you guys check out DJ once again. Down below in the description, his Twitter's down there and his profile over at NY Daily News. DJ, anything you want to say before we end up the stream, my man?
I appreciate you having me on, man. Just let me know when you need me again. I'm here.
Facts, man. Of course. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you guys enjoy DJ. And if you want DJ back on the stream, smash that thumbs up button so I know you guys enjoy DJ, and I'll make sure to get him on here as a regular on Jets Media. Appreciate all the love, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, of course, if you're new. Help me get to 10K subscribers. I'm this close. I'll greatly appreciate if you guys can get me there. So, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you guys in the next stream. Peace out, everybody.